The cruel, inhumane, and unimaginable images of World War II concentration camps remain embedded in our hearts and minds. That anyone could have survived these atrocities is a miracle, but it is Herman Rosenblatt's personal story that is especially poignant and truly miraculous. Herman was the youngest son in the Rosenblatt family, a loving and happy group of people living in a small village in Poland. But in 1939, the Rosenblatts were forced into a cramped Polish ghetto. Their lives would never be the same. 3 years later, his father contracted typhus. It would be the first of many losses for Herman, and he will never forget what his father said to him on his deathbed.
One thing you got to remember, he said to me, don't hold a grudge against nobody and tolerate everybody. And next day he died.
Germany had taken control of Poland, and 4 months after his father's death, Herman and his family became victims of Hitler's final solution. The ghetto Jews were herded through the streets like cattle to be transported to their deaths. They were divided into 2 groups. Herman was to be shipped with the men to a work camp. His mother was placed with the sick and disabled, to be loaded on a train and sent to the notorious death camp, Treblinka.
I ran over to my mother and I say, I want to be with you. I don't want to go with my brothers. She went ahead and pushed me away. She said to me, go with your brothers. I don't want you. Remember, I was that time 12 years old. I couldn't get over why my mother told me she doesn't want me. She doesn't love me. She went to Treblinka, where she was gassed and died. After the war, I understood why. I still, till today, I know why in my mind, but in my heart, I don't know.
By 1944, Herman was a prisoner in a concentration camp outside Berlin called Schlieffen. Life there was a daily struggle under the most horrendous conditions.
It was hunger, hunger and hunger. We didn't get nothing to eat. Just one slice of bread and water.
The only escape from constant hunger was in sleep and dreams.
Once I was sleeping in the barracks, and I had a dream that my mother came to me, and she said to me, don't worry, you'll be all right. I'm looking after you. And she disappeared. And then came an angel and touched me, and she disappeared. And I woke up in a sweat.
The next day, while Herman was walking near the camp's barbed wire fence, something caught his eye.
There was a little girl standing there and looking into the camp. So I asked her if she had something to eat. And she looked at me. I had a paper suit on and some rags under my feet. And she had a nice warm jacket on. And she took out an apple and threw it. And when I caught the apple, I ran away. And I heard her say, see you tomorrow.
Będę tu znowu jutro.
I believe that that girl that came, she was the angel that my mother was sending to me.
Herman and the young girl continued to meet daily.
She came every day. Not almost. She came every day. I had a time to when the guards are going to be in this area and how long it'll take another guard to come up. So that when I ran up to the fence to grab the bread or the apple, whatever she threw me, I wouldn't be seen by the guards. If the SS would see me, I would get shot. But at that point, I didn't care if I get killed or not, as long as I can have some more to eat.
The day came when Herman was to be shipped to another camp, and he said goodbye to the young girl.
I looked back, and she was there, and I saw a tear coming down her eye, and a tear came down my eye, and I ran away.
The little girl knew that she would never see him again. When prisoners left this camp, they were often sent to die in the gas chambers. Nine months later, the Allies liberated the concentration camps. Miraculously, Herman gained his freedom on the very day he was scheduled to be put to death in the gas chamber.
It was an unbelievable scene. I couldn't believe it myself, that at last, I'm free.
After spending several years in England and in Israel, Herman and his brothers emigrated to the United States and settled in New York City. From 1949 to 1956, Herman was engaged to be married 3 times, but each time he decided to call it off because he did not feel that he had found his soulmate. And then in 1957, Herman was invited to join another couple on a date to Coney Island.
He says, but she's got a friend of her who's Polish, and we can have a double date. I said, no, I don't want to go on double dates, especially blind dates. He persuaded me. So I said, okay. And she was good looking, and I started to get attracted to her. I thought to myself, maybe after tonight I'll ask her for a telephone number.
On the way home that night, Herman and the young woman, Roma, began talking about their past, and they discovered that they had actually met once before. It was during his stay in Israel while serving in the Israeli army. One night, he and some fellow soldiers went out with a group of nurses. Roma was one of them.
She says, I had a date with a guy, and I asked her, what did he look like? And she described me. I said, that was me. She said, come on, it couldn't be. I said, yeah.
It was an amazing coincidence that these 2 strangers had met years before, but what was about to happen can only be described as a miracle.
She said to me,
where were you during the war?
I was in concentration camp. Then she said to me,
and I was near a camp where I would throw food over the fences to a boy.
I said to her, did he have rags on his feet instead of shoes? She paused for a second and she says,
yes.
All of a sudden it just hit me like a ton of bricks would hit me. I said to her, did he tell you not to come around anymore? That he's leaving? And she stopped and looked at me. She says,
yes.
I said,
that was me.
That was me. We paused for a while, didn't say a word to each other. And then I looked at her and I said, look, you saved my life. You fed me. You were my angel.
Yes.
And you're going to be my angel. And I proposed to her.
He said, you know, I'm going to marry you. And I said, you crazy. We just met. How is this possible?
Not only was it possible, it was somehow mysteriously and miraculously meant to be. 11 months later, Herman and Roma were wed. The young boy who managed to survive one of the darkest periods in human history, and the angel who risked her life to help him stay alive, were now man and wife. And it seemed that nothing could have kept them apart. Not a prison wall, not a separation that would last over 12 years, not even the thousands of miles between a German concentration camp and Coney Island.
This is destiny, something that I felt very strong, that this is the man that God wanted me to have.
Herman and Roma recently celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary, and they returned to Coney Island to reminisce about that miraculous night when they found each other again.
Coney Island was the place that we really have special feelings about it. And I consider myself lucky that we met. And thanks to my friend and thanks to God, really, that we are together.
I think that my mother is watching me and she wants me to be happy, and she actually sent Roma to me. The miracle was that we kept bumping to each other all the time, and we didn't know until the last day when we were sitting in the car, and I asked her to marry me. Because I told her there's no others. There's nobody else gonna be. And that's it.